everyone, welcome back to HLS TV. I am a happy Molly Moran here with the happy Ryan Ritter. We actually get to talk about a win, and not just any win, a win in our bowl game against LSU. So I'm so excited and kind of upset at myself that I wasn't a little bit more positive going into this, but I'm always happy to be proved wrong. So yay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since we've gotten to talk about a win, so...
Yeah.
And even though we both predicted wins, we both admitted that we were probably a little too optimistic about it. But hey, we ended up getting proven right. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is why you play the games. I mean,
Definitely.
yeah. I mean, on paper, this looked bad. This looked rough. You know, we had a feeling that there was ways we could win, even if we maybe didn't fully buy into it.
Right.
And they did exactly what they needed to do. The biggest thing, like we talked about before the game, was that Notre Dame's biggest problem is that they can't do the sustained drive. And with Malik Zaire in there, the first drive took up half the first quarter. And, you know, that's when you're like, this might be different. How did you feel on that first drive?
Yeah, like I loved what I saw. I was like, oh my gosh, because yeah, they did what they needed to do. They took their time, and then not only did they take their time, but they ended up with points at the end of it. So I was like, yes, this is great. Because sometimes we take our time, and then, you know, unlucky things happen. So I was like, yes, this is awesome. I was really excited.
Yeah, the red zone offense looked really good. Even Golson had one drive, and once he got up to the red zone, they put Zaire back in, which I thought was great because I think we finally saw what Brian Kelly wants to do with an offense. I think he always tweaks it to, you know, work to people's strengths, and we knew Golson wasn't that great at the read option, but once you saw somebody that was, it was just incredible to watch it in action.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm from Cincinnati, and so I remember I might have been one of the only people happy to see Brian Kelly go to Notre Dame when that happened. But that's like there was like a little bit of like UC mojo going on, and I was like, I see what he's doing. I know this Brian Kelly, so it was kind of fun to watch him be able to do a little bit of that with Notre Dame's offense. So it was fun to see.
Yeah, it was really fun to see. I'm just like, this is more the only thing that was different than probably what we expected maybe from day one from Brian Kelly was that it wasn't up tempo, but you didn't want it to be up tempo because you wanted to hold on to the ball, keep the defense off the field. I mean, the defense did an admirable job. They had some huge lapses though, but if you think about it, it was really, if they had a lapse, that's where they scored. LSU wasn't really just, you know, pounding on them and dominating, and man, at the end of the game, it felt like, you know, those SEC games that you watch. It was a knockdown, drag out slug fight in the second half.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't even. Yeah, I'm just like, yay! It's that giddiness that we haven't had in a while. So my mind just kind of scattered, but I'm like, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, because we always have to talk about
specific. I'll just sit here and smile like an idiot.
Well, I guess we could get to one part though, because if Notre Dame wins, inevitably there's got to be an excuse built in.
Oh, yeah.
The favorite one right now is the controversial call of LSU not getting the touchdown on the fake field goal. I think that might be the biggest controversy. Your thoughts on it? Go ahead and lead off of how you feel about it.
Well, I definitely see where people are coming from, because it was one of those things like where before I saw the replay, I was like, no way, he was not in, and then I was kind of like, oh, well, he may have been, but according to the rules, you know, like where you can't, so, you know, you can't overturn a call, like what, you know, like they had said that it wasn't, so then like there would have to be like indisputable evidence or whatever, and like based on the video, I didn't see like the knee and the, I don't,
yeah,
like I agree with the call because of the video, but I do, like, that makes sense. I do think the call was wrong, but they couldn't overturn it because there wasn't evidence, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I was kind of like, thank you for shitty angles, because I do think after seeing it, like, oh, crap, you might have been in. But too bad.
Yeah, and it was very close, and really, you're right, it had to be indisputable evidence. And the problem is that they called it on the field and in real time. You know, I think just about everybody, and really it was because when the kicker reached out, and he was afraid of fumbling, so he pulled back so fast.
Right.
So because he did that, you know, it gave the illusion to the referees that he was nowhere close to being in. So
Right.
they go and look at it, and basically the problem was you could see one knee up in the air, but there was another knee completely obstructed, and that's where the indisputable evidence comes in. Like, I can understand if you have a beef, but you literally can't see the knee. You cannot just
Exactly.
assume that it's up.
Right.
So, but if you're upset at that, to LSU fans, I doubt LSU fans are going to be watching this, but or maybe if you have an LSU fan, for the Irish fans that are watching this, say, you know what, a lot of you were just kind of letting everything go because they beat Texas A&M in the last game of the season on a very controversial play, to where they jumped off sides. It was plain as day. Texas A&M quarterback does exactly what your coach should do. He throws it up for grabs, saying, "Hey, I got a free play." Ends up being an interception. There was never a flag thrown,
Hmm.
and LSU escapes with a victory because A&M, did exactly what they were supposed to do, drew them offside. But you don't really hear many LSU fans talking about that. And not only that, I don't want to hear it after what we had to deal with against Florida State and that
Right.
stupid
I was gonna
OPI
say.
penalty, because there was loads of. I mean, that happened at the end of the half. I mean, it's a Les Miles staple, doing something crazy and stupid, but basically, here's what it is, LSU. You had to throw the kitchen sink to stay in it. You're running
Hmm.
trick plays like crazy, having to go to a trick field goal, or fake field goal, rather, to try to get a touchdown, and you still had opportunities to win the game at the end. The referees didn't block a field goal at the end of the game. The referees didn't stop you from running over a depleted Notre Dame defense, and you
Right.
had all world Leonard Fournette, who, my God, that guy's a beast and a half.
Yes.
So, I mean, they got beat, plain and simple. They got
Yeah, I
absolutely
agree. I was
beat.
gonna say, I mean, the way they were talking, that shouldn't have mattered anyway. Like, when the way we both predicted wins, but I mean, like the way it looked on paper, that shouldn't have mattered anyway, because you would have thought that they would have beat us, regardless of that happening anyway. So, too bad, so sad, we won.
Yeah. So, and here's my favorite stat. And again, we talked about holding on to the ball, time of possession. Now,
Hmm.
LSU is a team that was one of the top 10 in the nation in time of possession. And Notre Dame not only beat them in time of possession, it wasn't even close. Notre Dame had the ball for 37 minutes, and LSU had the ball for 23.
Oh
So
wow.
that is nearly a full quarter more possession of the ball, which is unheard of for a Brian Kelly offense at Notre Dame. That's ridiculous, much less against LSU of all teams, who is
Yeah.
known for doing just the same thing to people. And that's how they kept the game to Alabama and had a chance to win that, because they hold on to the ball for so long. They
Hmm.
force you to play their style of game, and it takes you out of your comfort zone and gives them a chance to win. It was very much the same game here. This was not Notre Dame's comfort zone, even though they played very well into it. I think Notre Dame is more comfortable opening it up more. So really, really interesting to see Notre Dame play that style and hold on and win, and to do it with a Kyle Brenza field goal. He gets redemption.
I know. I was so excited.
Did
I was
you
happy for him.
did you get a chance to see the Icon video where he got the game?
No, no, I love those. I need to watch it.
Definitely do it. It's an I think like an extended cut Icon. It's like a
Yeah.
near 10-minute video this time around. But yeah, Kyle Brenza gets the game ball and
Yeah.
deserves it. I mean, he came into the season being the most accurate kicker in Notre Dame history. Fell apart. Some of it
Hmm.
not his fault, but definitely things got into his head. And this was the only field goal he attempted, and he made it. So
Yeah.
great. There was so much happiness. Everybody's down on the team. People wondering, has Brian Kelly lost the team? How's his team feeling? But man, if
Hmm.
you had eyes and were looking at the sidelines, I mean, that shouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah. Cool. I'll have to watch that after
Yes,
this.
definitely. So, see, what else can we talk about here? Um, well, LSU, I mean, mistakes for LSU was another big thing. Notre Dame kept a clean sheet.
Hmm.
So, once again, in the Brian Kelly era, if Notre Dame has not turned the ball over, they've won. Held true again this time.
Yep.
And LSU did not do that. They coughed up a fumble in the second half. Notre Dame didn't score off of it, but again, it was one team made mistakes, the other one didn't, and I think
Hmm.
that ended up making a huge difference, the fumble and the block field goal. Because if you think
Definitely.
about that, that could be 10 potential points, maybe six, or and
Right.
field goal
That's
game.
huge. Yeah.
But I guess here's a good question: what surprised you I think the most overall, if you had to pick one thing,
Gosh.
besides the outcome, obviously.
I know, I was gonna say, oh gosh, the most overall. I mean, I think if I'm gonna be, I'll be generic and kind of Miss America and say improvement. That way it covers kind of several areas because I was impressed by one. I was really impressed by the O line, and I was really impressed by the defense, which I know is like two things, but those are two things that I was really really worried about. So like I said, I'm gonna be sneaky here and kind of be generic and say improvement in several areas.
I like that you pointed out the offensive line, though, because that we haven't seen a line create that kind of physical play.
Yeah.
And it was also not just the line; it was the fact that we were able to use two tight end sets with Luata back in and healthy. I mean, didn't even think about that. Of all the litany of injuries, we left him out in our discussion of the pregame. So shame on us.
We have starting quarterbacks, so
Yeah, but so I mean, to see that though, and again, this is not, it's not just an SEC defense. This was the best defense in the SEC. Like LSU is I understand they're not the best team in the SEC. I know this isn't like, you know, a national title type victory thing, but what Notre Dame did to that defense and to physically dominate them was impressive. And they didn't test them deep too much. They tried a couple different shots. Corey Robinson got close to a couple catches I thought both he should have made.
I know.
But you know, but LSU, they you saw why their defense is so good. They were always in a position to make a play more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
And unless if somebody was open, it was because it was a check down. And I know a lot of people are really, really high on, and as I should be, on Malik Zaire because he had a great game. But Everett Golson, he looked so much better. He had, I think, one drive where he threw two that were just terrible passes that were nowhere close, but when he had to come in towards the end of the game and make those clutch passes after Zaire's helmet popped off, he took his time, he went through his progressions, he checked down, he didn't force it, he didn't try to, like, he didn't have happy feet. It was a completely different Everett Golson. And I tell you what, if he can keep on that track, I know a lot of people are like, well, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I'm sure that'll be a worry storyline, you know, of the Notre Dame offseason. But, you know, I just have a feeling, you know, Kelly is somebody that can say, hey, this has worked. You can point to Florida in 2006. This won a national title. And I think Golson, he wants to prove himself. He didn't, and I was worried he was going to press too hard. And he didn't do that, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Everett Golson because, like you said, everybody's really high on Malik Zaire, but you do have to give Golson credit because he did what he needed to do when he was called upon. So I was really happy to see he didn't lose his confidence and that he, you know, was a team player and was able to help when we needed it.
Yeah, and he didn't turn the ball over.
No, that's great. So.
And I tell you what, you know, giving Golson credit because he fixed what he needed to. He made the smart reads. He didn't press. The big critique I had on Malik Zaire after the Southern Cal game was that his passes lacked touch, and if he had to put touch on it, it just looked like this lame duck up in the air asking to get picked off. His touch passes, when he needed touch, they looked really good. They looked, and he had to throw the laser. I mean, I can't believe somebody can throw the ball harder than Everett Golson, to be honest. And Zaire can throw the ball harder than Golson. So, and if he can keep that going and keep his passing game, you know, going strong, because the style he plays is going to be physically demanding, and I think if you do that and you ask, you know, Zaire to take punishment, you're going to need a backup to come in, you know, if a helmet pops off, or, you know, just, you know, Kelly said he would go with the way the situation felt. There were some third and longs where he brought Golson in, and Golson would get the conversion, and they would swap back out. It to me, it just felt like, you know, it was natural almost. It looked like we had been doing it all season.
I know. There were times like where I actually forgot what quarterback was in, which was a good thing because, you know, again, the way that Golson's been playing, you'd think you'd know, like, oh, no. But no, like, I was like, oh, that was Golson that time. That was, oh, really? So it did. It seemed natural. It seemed comfortable, and I liked the way it was working. So, yeah. It's kind of like a hindsight thing where I agree. I'm like, why weren't we doing this? But oh well.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be. I mean, there was some role player type scenario in there, but there was also a little bit of, he was like Tommy Rees being brought in as a relief pitcher. He came in for 2-minute drill, came in, for passing situations, or but it all seemed like it worked. The team, didn't seem to get all crazy and rattled when the quarterbacks were coming in and out. It everything just flowed so well, and really LSU they couldn't stop it. That was probably, if we're going biggest shock, that was the biggest shock to me, especially in the first half. The only time LSU got a stop in the entire first half was when Malik Zaire made a terrible read on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
He should have handed the ball off. It would have been an easy
Mm-hmm.
first down. He decides to keep it and ends up losing 2 yards. I mean, even the
Yeah.
cameraman, he was fooled because he saw the hole too.
Yeah.
But yeah, and really, that's where LSU stopped the Irish for the most part was on some bad reads, or on the one drive I mentioned where Golson had a couple incomplete passes. Now towards the end, they made some adjustments, and it became a much more closer back and forth battle. But for the most part, Notre Dame. They also, there was another stat in here. This was the most points by a non-conference opponent against LSU since 2003, when Texas scored 35 against
Oh
them in the
wow.
Cotton Bowl. So I mean, that just shows you historically what Notre Dame did to this LSU defense. I mean, it's not just this top of the SEC defense. This is, people don't do this to LSU. Period.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, and what else did? And this was also until today, though. We're filming this right now. It's New Year's Eve, and getting closer to dinner time. But the Peach Bowl is already in the book, so another SEC West team has lost in a big way to TCU.
Yeah.
But before that point, this was the first loss when Notre Dame. So Notre Dame drew first blood to be the first out-of-conference team to beat any team in the SEC West all year. So I tell you what would be a funny storyline, as much as we've had fun with our SEC is awesome post line, if in these bowl games the SEC West teams, once they start finally playing actual good out-of-conference opponents, if they all start falling down, it might be pretty hilarious. So let's see what Georgia Tech does tonight. By the time this ends up on the site, though, that game will be in the books. But it'll be interesting what Georgia Tech does in the Orange Bowl tonight, if they can take out Mississippi State, because then there's going to be a lot of laughs and a lot of angry people at TCU with the statement they made. That's for sure. But yeah. I digress. Let's talk about Zaire. We really need to talk about him. He played great. He did awesome. What was your overall impressions of him? And as of now, I know we got a long off season. I'm sure we'll go back and forth. But as of now, say we had another game. Say this was a playoff to get somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Would you start Malik Zaire again in place of Everett Golson?
Well, I'll answer that question first. Yes, I would. And overall impression of Malik Zaire, I was hesitant to be really high on him going into the game, just because I was scared, and so I was very impressed with him, and I think he did what we needed him to. I was trying to temper my usual crazy optimism, but no, I was like, wow. And again, I'm from Cincinnati, so GCL is big around here, and Malik Zaire went to Alter in Dayton, and he played my high school team, and I remember they played at I think they used UC's field, and I just remember I was out of high school at the time. But my dad's like, "Did you see what that commit for Notre Dame did to Purcell?" And I was like, "What?" And I just remember he threw all over them and had all these touchdowns. I was like, "Well, I hope that high school really translates to college in this case, because sometimes there's rating stuff don't mean anything." But it was funny because yesterday during the game, my dad yelled up from the basement "It looks like he did when he played Purcell at Alter," and I was like, "Yeah, he's doing his thing." So bottom line is he was the Malik Zaire that I expect, and I was happy to see that. So very impressed, and I definitely think we could see more of him in the future. Again, kind of going back to what you said before about Everett Golson, that's definitely going to be an off-season story. I would hope he didn't go anywhere. I'd understand if he did, because I get, the wanting to have playing time or be the man, but I think we definitely still need him, and I liked what we did yesterday, so I'm hoping that he doesn't go anywhere and that Kelly keeps him around and they can work on that kind of two-man system. But
Yeah. And what I like, if we were starting next week, I would do the exact same thing. I mean, this is working. I had some people on Twitter, like, 50 plus days later, like, oh, it's like, well, how do you feel now about things? Like, I'm like, really, like 50 some odd days later, like, there's a lot of things that go in, and I think the
right.
biggest thing, because you want Golson to get back on. Previously in the season, you want him to get back on track because you don't have a whole lot of time to, basically say, okay, you're done taking reps with the ones. We need to put Zaire in now because we got a couple practices until the next game.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you're splitting snaps, because if you just need Zaire to be ready as a backup to go in like he had to against Southern Cal, you just don't have the time to do the same offense installation. So I think this was like a perfect storm and really shows what Kelly can do with time, because I know that was a big critique when we went to the national title, was that Saban just flat out outcoached Kelly, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
There was absolutely no doubt about it. Saban outcoached Kelly. Kelly, we saw a shortcoming there. This time he outcoached Les Miles. He was able to get Zaire prepped and to be able to run an offense he wanted. And he said it in the pregame presser. Man, I wish we had, waited another day to film, because that would have been a lot of fun to talk about. We put the episode up on HLS, and then, like 2 hours later, it's announced that he's the starting quarterback. Like, oh, damn. But he said specifically in that presser that Zaire he felt he was the best choice to run the kind of offense that he wanted to run. And, I mean, it was clear as day that that's exactly what it was. This actually felt like a spread offense. And I know people will say, no, we ran the ball more. It's like, the concept that Kelly wants to run with the spread is to be able, when you spread the field, it's because you're worried about the options that are out there. It's not just throwing receivers wide. It's having to worry about the power game inside. It's having to worry about the quarterback keeping and taking it off and, towards the outside direction. And you have the vertical threats going long, because Kelly's passing game, he's done more screens lately, so he's put screens in there. So your dad would love that. There's a lot of screens in this game.
Read my mind.
Yeah, and that's been Kelly has always been vertically passing based, but he's adding the screens too. So that's a lot of things that you have to keep track of, and that's a lot of different threats. So if you start even shading towards one, then all of a sudden you're going to get caught with another one. Like the first touchdown, which was a screen pass, it was a third down. And you could see LSU was just going to bring the house on him. It's like, okay, young quarterback, we're going to come right after him, and all he's been doing is running. So let's see what happens. And it was just, wide open, huge running lanes, blockers right in front of Fuller, and absolutely perfect play call. I mean, that's the kind of offense that Brian Kelly wants to call. Now, imagine if it's not a team like LSU, to where we can vertically stretch a defense better, which is what we were trying to do against Southern Cal, because their passing defense was really not good. But Golson couldn't hit the broadside of a bar in that game, so it didn't matter. But imagine having Malik Zaire to be able to run those same spread concepts. You have the screen as a weapon, and now you can go over the top of them. That it's been Oregon's bread and butter for years. They do the same thing. They're a very high-octane offense, and they run much faster than just about anybody in college football. Only TCU might rival them at this point, but it's the same concept. They do a lot of running. They do a lot of spreading you out. They make you honor everything. So it was great to see that, and I've definitely I still believe Golson is a great quarterback. What he really needs to do in the offseason for me, and we'll have to see it in the spring game, is he needs to figure out the read option. I think that's the bottom line for me, because otherwise he is just going to be a role player in this offense, which is crazy to think, because pre-FSU we're talking Heisman. Even after FSU we're like, he's putting up comparable numbers to Jameis Winston here, so why aren't we talking Heisman? And now we're like, yeah, you need to work on your game, buddy. It's football's crazy.
It is crazy. I know. I agree, because you just start to have a short memory, because after the game win, I'm like, oh yeah, wait, this is the first time talking about a win in a really long stretch, but that's okay.
Yes. That
was going to comment. a long time ago,
Terrible.
sadly. And I was going to comment too, we knew that this win wasn't going to erase, every wrong thing that happened this season or all the problems that still exist with the team, but we did say that, it would be a good start because Brian Kelly pointed out what they needed to fix. And I agree that Brian Kelly, it was good to see that he was able to do something with the amount of time that he had. So I'm like the win yesterday, I feel good that, if they could correct what they needed to the point that we could beat LSU, then I'm hoping in the off season he can correct it even more. And we have a lot of people coming back and stuff, so that
Yeah,
made me feel good, I think, going
that's
into
the
the off season.
that's a great part. I read on UHND, one of our fellow Irish blogging gathering folks, that Sheldon Day's already said that.
Yes.
Yeah, so right now it looks like it was listed as sources said that he's still leaning on coming back. Ronald Stanley is probably the other one. Apparently his draft grade was not first round.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost have this feeling, and it's almost the same feeling with Golson. I think these guys feel like they have something to prove in the collegiate game still, and something
Yeah.
to prove. And it's because the team's so young. I think it's because they're all so close together. And so many things happen. You had, the suspension of the five
Mm-hmm.
happen at the start. Um,
Oh my
you had
gosh, we
goals.
did. It's crazy.
Yeah, and
Forgot
you had Golson, coming back. That's a
right.
rough transition.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's gone on, with this team adversity wise. You have so many injuries that and this may be blue and gold colored glasses being on right now, but I almost feel like, especially with the way the team reacted to that win, and just how
Mm-hmm.
emotional it was. Zaire's crying.
I
Um,
know.
you have Justin Brent, who is Kelly said is in his doghouse, is one of the
Yeah.
first people to go up and hug his coach after they win. So there's something about this team that almost seems like they're all fighting for each other so hard
Mm-hmm.
to the point to where I think unless somebody's got first round money coming their way, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But
No,
I could be
I
wrong, but that's the feeling I get from these guys right now.
No, yeah, I mean, I think that's what I always love about watching these Notre Dame teams because even though, I'm trying to think, Michael Floyd leaves, you're like, oh, who's going to come in and step up? Or like, oh, the team's going to be all broken now, and blah, blah, blah. No, for some reason, like whenever I watch his icon videos and you see him in the locker room, you're like, oh my God, it's like a legit brotherhood. And I really do think that like something with this team seems really close together. So I agree. And I hope that, unless someone was going to be a first round draft pick, they'd stick around. So I think so.
Yeah, and to see the team like that, which is always funny because I've had, you know, random, peanut gallery comments saying, it's like, well, Kelly, throws people under the bus, he does this and that. And I was like, I just don't see that with the players' reactions. I don't think he's just looking to yell at somebody. I don't think he's,
No.
selling his players out and,
No, I think that's media making stories just because that's kind of the media's job to an extent. It just, people buy it too
yeah,
much sometimes, I think.
yeah, it just doesn't seem to translate at all. And I
No, I
know,
agree.
and Kelly, and I think some of that may have to be is you almost have to watch Kelly talk because when you read a
Yeah,
transcript from a presser, it doesn't translate very well to
yeah,
how the room is and everything else. And I know it sounds like I'm making excuses for the guy, but he really is. And I've said it before. He's a politician, and when a politician speaks, you know. It's one thing to have the words on a page, but they work the room, they work the crowd, and Kelly knows how to do that very well, I
definitely.
think, especially now that he's comfortable with the media. So he'll joke a lot, and they don't
Mhm.
transcribe laughter into it,
Right.
and it's awkward laughter sometimes, and not all the jokes work, which is almost kind of funnier because you see reactions like shifty eyes going around the room, and Kelly kind of
Right.
like just like
Yeah.
okay, that
They,
missed. So
yeah, they still haven't invented sarcasm font, so you definitely have to see like his demeanor when he talks too.
yeah, and really, I think that was probably my favorite part about the game was just seeing everybody react, seeing the icon afterwards of just that,
Yeah,
you know, you could tell that this team. I think it's almost like they really felt like the weight of the world was on their shoulders. They knew they failed this season. They knew
hmm,
they failed, and they needed to do something to fix it,
yeah,
and they did. This saves so much right now because imagine in future recruiting battles if anybody recruiting against Notre Dame says, yeah, they fell apart at the end of the season when it mattered, and
Mhm.
they fell apart in the bowl game. It's like this isn't a school for you.
Yeah.
They don't know how to put things together. The 12-0 was a flash in the pan, and
Right.
what you saw in the championship game is Notre Dame. What you saw this past November is Notre Dame, and
Mhm.
then this beating by LSU, that's Notre Dame. They can't handle SEC teams. Well, kill that narrative
Yeah,
dead.
exactly. Yeah.
And you know,
Thank God. Yeah, and I did on Twitter. I saw, different, reporters and things retweeting recruits and different, um, young guys that were really excited about the outcome of the game. So I was like, yeah, I'm glad they saw that one.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's huge, and really the big narrative is, and I really want to put this win in a good perspective because as exciting as I am, I know it's not, the signature win for Kelly. I don't want this to be
Right.
that, but what it is, it's a narrative breaker, and that's the biggest thing for me because
Definitely.
I hear it down here being in Texas. My sister goes to an SEC school, so my family watches loads of SEC football. I watch loads of SEC football. For a long time, it has looked like a different game from what I watched Notre Dame do, and then what I watched the SEC teams do. It was
Mhm.
completely different, and I've been telling them for the past couple of years, like, we have some people. It's like it's happening. I can see the turn. It's more physical. It's faster. It's a lot
Mhm.
different. So when the Alabama game happened, the response from my family was like, "Well, nope, not really different." It's like this looked just like the Sugar Bowl back when you were in school. But
Mhm.
my sister unfortunately couldn't watch the game. She had to go back to Auburn. But my parents were there watching the game with me this time, and they were floored by how Notre Dame was
Mhm.
just playing physical and just taking it to LSU. So, like I said, that's a big deal that it's a narrative breaker. It's clear that Notre Dame has got the SEC speed and the SEC physicality to keep up with them. Now, could they beat Alabama this year? Hell no. They would get killed by Alabama this year.
Right.
Auburn would smoke them this year. LSU happened to be, and we said it when it was selected. I said if we got an SEC team, I think Alabama's a solid draw because they have issues of their own, but it is a good physical test. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm at. I'm thrilled. The matchup, we were right. It was the best possible matchup. I'm glad
Yeah.
we didn't get Georgia because I know that was a possibility. I do not
Yeah.
think that would have ended well at all. So
I don't
there's a
think so
lot of.
either.
So let's be
Yeah.
very clear that we're not saying we're going to be SEC world beaters with this
Yeah.
squad, but there is a lot of good momentum with a lot of people coming back, people getting healthy. There's a lot to be excited about now because now, like, say you look at the linebacking core right now, it's kind of a mess. But now you say, okay, yeah, Niles Morgan's going to be back. He's going to be better, and of course you get a better Jalen Smith back. But then you
Mhm.
also gain Jarrett Grace and you gain Joe
Mhm.
Schmidt back, which I know you're excited about. But then all of a sudden, you're like, hey, those are four good lines. There's a little bit of depth there. Things look better. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, now Greer Martini's healthy again. Okay, this looks better.
Right.
So that's, and I'm hoping that getting everybody healthy, the depth starts to build back. And obviously, since I got the fun booster status, I really don't even follow recruiting too hard until it happens because
Yeah.
if I can't talk about it, I might as well not even bother.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we keep going on the track we're going with recruiting, and really, I think this could be a moment because this is a big sell right now. You can come and build something at Notre Dame. There's still a lot of spots open available for you to get quick playing time. There's still
Mhm.
a lot of ways for you to make an impact, and this program is going in the right direction. And having that one-two punch, I think, is huge.
Yeah. I agree. Yay.
Well, I guess should we do offensive, defensive MVPs?
Yeah.
Close this
Let's do
thing
it.
out. Last episode of the new year,
I
or the
know.
old year, and then everybody will watch it in 2015. So I don't even know why I said that. Anyways, let's do MVPs. Well, who do you got
Okay, sounds
for?
good.
Let's start with defense. I think defense will be a little bit harder. So let's start with defense.
Gosh. Yeah, it is a little harder. Max Redfield sticks out. I was impressed with Max Redfield. I don't know. It's hard. Who are you thinking?
I'm going Sheldon Day because I mean we weren't a huge dominant force up front, but we were able to. I think the defense was night and day with him
Yeah.
in. So I think it was one of those little things to where it made a huge difference. Redfield is a solid pick as well. He had a very good game, and he
Yeah, I
needed
was thinking
to.
just for personal improvement and things too, because he'd been out for a while. So, I mean, he had. I think there was one, like I can think of one really bad play that he had. I mean, he didn't have bad plays, but other than that, like he was really clutch when we needed him to be. I mean, he made a mistake, but
Yeah,
whatever.
on Fournette's first long run, he took a
Yeah,
terrible angle and he got
yeah.
sucked in. But that happens when you're. I mean, he was cheating the whole game. He was cheating up, trying to stop the run. So when that happens, if you guess wrong and you take a wrong
Hmm.
angle, you're toast and you can't recover. And it happened to
Right.
him a couple different times. But yeah, he played really good. I know people were dogging on Jalen a little bit, but the reason was, everyone's like, well, he's a non-factor. It's like, yeah, LSU made sure he was out of every single play.
Right.
They wanted no business. They wanted nothing to do with them. But it
Yeah.
was very similar to what Alabama did to both Lewis Nix and Manti Te'o. They
Exactly.
they worked it to where everything was either going to cover them or flow away from them or suck them in a different direction, because I mean, going back, I mean, Lewis Nix would beat people off the line, but they would let him, what's the right way to say this? They would let him win in a certain direction. So
Hmm.
he thought he was getting through, but the play was going the other
Right.
direction.
But just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't
then
know how that ended up.
and then Teo would usually fill that gap, but somebody's always on Teo or it's going
Right.
away from him. So and obviously Alabama was much more physical in that game too, and you know that helps as well. But that's what it
Hmm.
reminded me of, and that's what you do when you have a playmaker on defense. So I think that spoke volumes for what LSU thought of Jalen.
Yeah,
That
exactly. I was going to say that's
if
just a
they're
testament to how good he is. They're like, nope, you're not doing anything. We're taking you out of this game. So
Yeah, so and that's where I'm excited to get more people back in and back healthy again, and especially with Niles, he's going to get better and better because that kid he's going to be good.
hmm.
So once you get that, I mean, all of a sudden once you start having to pick your poison, people are going to make plays.
Right,
So
exactly.
now offense, this one might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you have to give a shout out to Malik Zaire because, hello, you called on him to come in during our bowl game. But I'd also give a shout out to Kyle Brinza because he had some mental toughness that he had to bring to make that game-winning field goal. So I definitely have some love for him.
Yeah, he definitely deserves a special mention. He got game ball for a good reason. I mean, he won the
Yeah.
game. He won the game. But yeah, Malik Zaire, by far my offensive MVP. He was Notre Dame's leading rusher. He had
Hmm.
under 100 yards passing. So did Everett Golson.
Yeah.
Both of them probably could have had over 100 yards if a couple balls aren't dropped. But
Hmm.
they did exactly what they needed to do. And like I said, it felt like a fun, powerful offense to watch. This felt like
It was very
good
fun.
football. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other way to put it. And it's sometimes it is just as simple as don't turn the ball over and
Yeah.
execute. It's
Yeah.
always easier said than done, but um, and Kelly said after the game, there's no reason why we can't do that. We're good enough to do it, and
Right.
they were, and there wasn't any of this. Oh, here we go again, and considering that the very first play of the game started with it was a delayed game if I remember right. I forget if they could even
Yeah.
call timeout, but you're like, oh really? This is going to be a
Yeah.
long day, and then
I know.
everybody they just gathered themselves and they just marched right down the field for half a quarter. So,
Yeah.
and anytime you do that against the caliber of defense that LSU brings, that's huge. So. This is a quarterback controversy I'm going to be happy with because this is one where these guys I really think are both going to push each other. I just think they have the attitudes. I think,
Hmm.
and I'm almost thinking, perhaps this was, a longer term plan by Kelly. Perhaps he recruits people that have this mindset that I need you to be in here and compete. Think about Gunnar Kiel. You
Yeah.
know, we were hoping had he stuck around and say, but he wanted the starting position for himself, so he went to
Right.
Cincinnati. But if you think about what would happen if Gunnar Kill would have stuck around, would he and Tommy Rees kind of been a 1 and 2? Would
Right.
then him and Golson have been a 1 and 2 this year, and then have it shift back down like that? So, by all accounts, it seems like that could be something that works well for the future. And who knows? We could see maybe some of Sean Kaiser next year out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Once redshirt's going to be, his redshirt year is done now, so you have 3 really good freaking quarterbacks on that sideline right now, and that's just all kinds of exciting. So hopefully,
Yeah.
We do have the right kind of guys that Kelly wants, because everybody says 2 quarterbacks doesn't work until it works and it's proven, and it's clear Notre Dame can do it. So I would be happy going forward with that and having it continue to push both of them to get better. So
I agree.
well done by Zaire, and well done by Golson, because this isn't a win if he doesn't pull his part either.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes for 2012 and Tommy Rees. If Tommy does not pull his weight, he does not make clutch passes, Notre Dame does not go to the national title, and that's the bottom line. So it's cool to see that. Maybe we're finally in year, what are we now? 6 of Brian Kelly. It's finally coming together.
It is. See, people.
Now, no one gets expelled, no one gets suspended, nobody kicked.
I know. Now we're entering what's sometimes scarier than the actual season, and that's the off season. So we'll see. I'm hoping for an uneventful one.
Yeah, yes, please, because I'm having a kid in the summer, so that's going to be eventful enough. I don't need any additional Notre Dame crap on top of that, okay? My heart cannot take it.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yes, oh, jeez. Yeah, so we are entering the off season. As far as HLS TV, I'm sure we'll do an episode here or there.
Hopefully we won't need too many, because it'll be nice and uneventful, and no one will want to hear from us anyway.
yeah. So hopefully we're not having to do a breaking news. Half the team got suspended or something crazy like that. Right. So yeah, but we'll probably come back, sometime about signing day, talk maybe some recruiting stuff, blue gold game, obviously. But, if we find some good things to talk about, we'll definitely come back on. Maybe try to grab some guests and have just, a show and just talk some football, with.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be fun. So I'll tell you what, though, Molly, I definitely want to thank you for doing this all season. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And for those of you that don't follow us on Twitter, first off, you should, but you will see that usually we're always, talking about her. Google hates her for some reason, so she always gets kicked off. So she's fought through this all year long for y'all. So
and Ryan's put up with it, so thank you.
No, big thanks to you. This is a lot of fun, and this is only going to get better as we keep going. So, and thanks to everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to bring some stuff. We're going to have some fun highlight reels, I'm sure. If you're wondering where they've been, our Superman TD Jesus, our highlight guy, been super, super busy. I wasn't kidding when I said we had a lot of personal things going down. He got incredibly busy with work and his job, so he's going to be coming back with some highlight clips soon. I'm excited. I actually have a video capture set up now. I'm not nearly as good as him, but maybe I'll be able to throw something together here and there. But definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff. And, I guess until next time, hopefully we'll be having good news. And it's a great recruiting class, and everybody's still enrolled and happy. And we don't have any sick grandmothers in California causing random defections or...
Yes, none of that. But yeah, so I guess on that note, thank you so much for watching with us this season, and go Irish.
Go Irish. Have a Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.
Clap along if you feel like a